So hi Terry, thank you so much for finding the time to listen to our presentation about the upcoming campaign for Geordie hospitals. As you know, unfortunately we haven't had a chance to meet face to face, but we are hoping that this will be another great way to showcase what we've been working on last month. And also we are very aware of how time pressing and time sensitive this campaign is if we want to align it with Geordie hospitals. So we thought this could be quite an easy way for you to see what we are up to, and I will talk you through each of the steps of the campaign, show you what we've done, and then you can make the decision whether we want to go ahead with it, and if so, how we want to go ahead with it. So first, I wanted to explain you how we arrived to where we arrived with our campaign. The campaign name that we've come up with is Geordie Bonds. And the reason being that we thought when we were exploring different ideas and different ways how we can get across the human side of both the patient and the NHS staff is through the unique form that they bond over in those very unfortunate experiences and moments of their lives. Some of them are unfortunate, some of them are happy as well, because as we know, we also have midwives, and lives being born in the hospital is not all gloom and doom. So there is something very unique in the bonds that are formed in the hospitals. It is the experience that we share between the doctors, the staff and the patients that we really want to celebrate in this campaign. So the overall aim is to make sure that we are celebrating the whole Newcastle Hospitals community and what makes it special. The reason we decided to use the name Geordie is obviously to align it with the Geordie Hospitality, but also the Geordie Hospital series. And the way that we want to tap into the Geordie Hospital series without having to go through Channel 5 and having to have all those restrictions and limitations that we are all aware of, we want to do that through using the protagonist as part of these campaigns without referring directly to Geordie hospitals as seen on Geordie hospitals, which is something that we've talked to the trust about and we know would be an issue. We have had a communication with the trust and we already identified a few people who we know would be potentially willing to be involved in this campaign, but we can discuss this more in details once we are happy with the general theme of the campaign. So the name Geordie Hospital is to obviously refer to the Geordie hospitality that we are so well known across the country, but also to refer to the Geordie Hospital series that we want this campaign to air at the same time. The reason that we wanted to make sure that we are aligning ourselves with the Geordie hospitals, which we know being a great success for you last year in terms of getting new donation and raising awareness of the charity, but we are also aware of all the limitations that we have with Channel 4 and their team. We have had a communication with the trust and we know that they are not very forthcoming in giving us material. So instead of using their material, we thought it would be better to create our own, using some of the protagonists that we already know are keen to be involved and are happy to promote the hospital's community. And this campaign and these visuals that we will be presenting are to encapsulate exactly that, the community, the hospitality and the unique bond that's created between the NHS staff and the patients and their families. So just before I talk you through the initial tactics, the activations that we want to work on, I think it's beneficial for looking at the designs that we've created. I want to stress these are mock-ups. It's the first draft that we just want to make sure that you are happy with the general idea. We can work them and evolve them further as we go along. But we thought rather than talking about how it could look, the visual help could get us quicker to where we need to be. So we'll be talking you through the designs in a minute and telling you how we've arrived to the different features and why we have each bit in it. But for you at this time, it's important to just know that these designs would be used for advertising, all sorts of advertising from social media, out of home, digital, to posters outside, anything. So keep that in mind when you're looking at it, because there are different formats that we will be using and there are different little details that we will be adding or taking away depending on where it is.
Hi Terry, as touched upon by Barbara, we've been working on a visual campaign for Geordie Bonds. So I'm now going to just talk you through the designs that have been created and just highlighting some of the design features and elements in our thought process to how we came up with the final visuals. The Carol and Fusion team have been working on a creative campaign that has a motive and focuses on the special bonds between individuals. The composition of the visuals focuses on the special connection between people and the life-saving work of medical professionals. The designs are made up of multiple elements, which I'm going to run through with you now. The first visual that's on the screen showcases Geordie Bonds and has the wording and the name of the campaign front and centre on our visual. We used a mix of colour and black and white photography as we feel this gives greater impact and has a better balance, allowing primary emphasis on the emotive image alongside the black and white photography of the individuals holding the photo. This imagery is complemented with a small sign-off which allows people to understand the connection between the two individuals in the advert. From there, we want people to also reinforce that this is unforgettable, and it's unforgettable people and unforgettable bonds. We use unforgettable bonds in a handwritten typeface as this reinforces the special connection between people within the organisation. All of these elements are reinforced with the final strapline, unforgettable people, unforgettable bond. When creating that campaign, I've wanted to make sure that people know instantly that this campaign is for Newcastle Hospitals charity. In developing unforgettable people, unforgettable bonds as a final sign-off reinforces both the campaign Geordie Bonds, but also works well within Newcastle Hospitals charity and the key brand elements, such as the multicoloured brushstroke swoosh that we have at the bottom, signing off unforgettable bonds, which also is very personal, which links back nicely to this personal campaign. From there, we've also looked to put a call to action in place, which reinforces the idea of the bond element by strengthening the bonds and asking people to donate now. So from the first visual that we've chatted about, I then just want to show you a few of the designs that I've created, which just showcases how this campaign can work across a number of different platforms. The second design is very much a celebratory image, just showcasing the work of the medical professionals and how they've transformed and saved an individual's life and how that is now evolved and developed, and this person is celebrating life from all of the medical professionals' hard work. The third design again follows that same sort of theme, but with this design, the additional element of the scan the QR codes being added, I very much think that this could work as a double page spread across print media, and is also very good as it's interactive, and it means people can quickly and easily scan the QR code and go online and donate quickly and easily. I thought it would be beneficial just to mock this up and show you how it could look in situ as well, just to demonstrate how impactful this could be if it was to be used within print media as a double page spread. And from there, I wanted to show how the campaign could evolve and could work across digital platforms such as billboards, as we have here across the central motorway. Again, the Geordie Bonds having a greater emphasis and then being complemented with the addition of the imagery and this final sign-off, unforgettable people, unforgettable bonds. Obviously, we realise that when it's on the central motorway, people are going to have to only have a quick instantaneous second to look at the campaign, which is why we very much wanted to have Geordie Bonds front and centre within the visual. Finally, I thought it would be beneficial just to showcase how this campaign could work across social media platforms as well. And I've developed a few small Twitter graphics just to showcase how this could look on Twitter and how this could work alongside the text that could be put within the tweet as well, just reinforcing the elements and the bonds between individuals that are showcased on the visual. Thanks for your time, Terry. I hope you like the visuals that I've just been talking through. I'm now going to pass you back to Barbara, who's going to talk about the campaign in more detail and how it could be rolled out across a number of different platforms.
Hi Terry. So as you've seen from Will's visuals, we are using a story of two people, one coming from the NHS background, one being on the receiving side of the services, or it doesn't always have to be someone who's directly receiving the services. It could be someone who's been benefiting from it and who's been sharing that different bond and experience with the NHS staff. This is just an initial start, and we think there is a scope to evolve that campaign, and we were thinking the best way to do those visuals is to use the series as a as a platform to expand it. So we thought about identifying 6 different stories, which would be aligned with the 6 different episodes, and each story would be launched and aired with each of the episodes. That doesn't mean that we will be using the story that's told in the episode. It means that we kind of align it in terms of timings and remind people what comes out of Geordie hospitals or Newcastle hospitals. We also don't want to just take the stories as a flat visuals. We want to really turn them into stories and storytelling. We want to make sure that because we want to advertise on different platforms, we are really bringing those stories to life, and we are creating then that emotional engagement with all of people to inspire them to donate. In addition to donating, we think that there are actually 2 key call to actions. The first one is the obvious one, which is help us strengthen the bond and donate. But we think there is the other strand of the campaign, which is about share your own Geordie bond, share your story, so we can create that natural chain of communication, organic communication that starts to happen across the social media platform. With that in mind, we really wanted to create a video that kind of encapsulates that experience that people are going through, and also is, again, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but we are talking about telling stories. So we've created a first video, which is a story of the 2 protagonists on our initial visuals, and it tells the experience in a nicest possible way, which is just a simple video, which you can watch now. I hope you find the video as impactful as we did in the office. There was few of us that shed some tears, and yeah, I just hope that it speaks more than me trying to explain what the video is about. Let's play the video so you can see it yourself. So I hope you've managed to watch it through the whole thing, and I hope it got across what we wanted to get across, and it is the absolute amazing work that the trust and the charity is bringing to lives of people in the Geordie and North East community. What we want to do with these videos, I want to stress that this is just a first mock-up. So our idea behind it, or how we want to expand that video, is to start with interviewing the person. In this case, we had Stefan in the video. So I will be talking through the example of Stefan, because I think it's the easiest way to then envision what we are trying to do. So we want the video to start by interviewing, in this case, Stefan, who will be talking through his experience and the uniqueness of the bond that he created with Asif. It's not like Asif is his friend, it's not like he's seen him every day, but his relationship and gratitude to Asif goes beyond the hospital. And that's kind of what we want to get across. And as we are doing the interview, we want to use and showcase different images of the stories. And ideally, if we have enough time and if we can organize this, we would want to finish the video by reuniting Asif and Stefan, easily in the hospital, almost like a mockumentary shot where we would follow raw, authentic experience of following Stefan going to the hospital, and just bring in a box of chocolate that says Geordie Bonds on it and giving it to Asif to kind of, again, demonstrate how much Asif work means to him. So just like Stefan's stories, we would like to create 6 of these stories, each of them being launched or published organically on social media with airing of the new Geordie Hospitals campaign, as well as being advertised across social media, out of home, on posters and billboards across the town, and some print too. We want this campaign to truly touch different channels. So in addition to just to advertising, we are recommending a PR activation to go alongside this, which would be one of our, obviously we would draft a press release and launch a press release with the idea behind the campaign. But in addition to that, we think it would be quite good to get a partnership with the Chronicle, and each week when we launch a new story, we also launch it as a case study on the Chronicle website, as an article telling the story of one of those people in the videos. And in addition to that, we could partner with a broadcast, with a radio, and try to do a call-in to share your Geordie bond. So we could get people proactively coming out with their stories and sharing their experience with Geordie hospitals. To make sure that we are getting callers in, we can kick it off by identifying some of them ourselves. And then over time, we are hoping that this was kicked with the public as well. And in addition to the PR activation, we also want to make sure we are driving traffic to your website, because your website, as we know, is a great part where people can actually donate to your charity. So something that we were exploring is potentially creating almost like a little submission form where people can share their Geordie bond stories. And once it's approved, it could sit on a nicely designed additional page, almost like a little wall of Geordie bond stories. The reason we want to have a submission in is because obviously we want to control the narrative and making sure that the stories that get uploaded on the wall on the website are appropriate, are in line with what we are trying to achieve. That's not to say we're going to censor anyone, it's to say that we want to make sure that nothing inappropriate gets uploaded on the website. So overall, what we want to achieve with this campaign is to create an emotional bond between the charity and whoever is our audience. And we want to make sure that there are different touch points, as we've explained throughout this presentation, which is website, which is PR activation, advertising, all sorts of ways to make sure that our campaign is getting seen, as it's getting people feel proud about being part of the Geordie Hospitals community. And I hope that we've achieved that with trying to explain the different relationships. Just at the end, what I wanted to say as well is I've touched on it at the start, we do have some stories identified already from the series, which we would want to use as mix for these visuals and for these storytelling videos. And they're not all doctors, which is quite great, because what we wanted to make sure we get across is that NHS is not just the clinical stuff. So we know that there is one of the episodes is about a cleaner. I believe her name is Pauline, and Pauline hands everyone ice lollies. So again, we could use someone who's been receiving the ice lolly, and it just made their day on the visuals. But it's the kind of thing that it is the overall community that is creating the environment that can form Geordie bonds, and Newcastle Hospitals charity plays a huge part in making that environment great for these bonds to flourish. And so in terms of the logistics of the whole campaign, I think we've stressed it at the beginning, we are on a very, very tight schedule. So after seeing this video presentation, it would be great if we could hear from you whether you're generally happy with us to go ahead with this project by the end of this week. I'll draft more details in the email when we'll be sending this over to you. And in terms of the budget, so I think our time, meaning our media and public relations activation, social media content and video content, that could be covered under the existing PO that we have with yourself. Obviously, Will would be quoting the design on the design side of things. So we would need additional budget for the photographer to capture the imagery for our visuals, and we would also obviously need advertising budget. What we would recommend is between £20,000 to £30,000 to go for this campaign, to make sure that we are hitting each of the platforms, whether it's digital, whether it's outside, whether it's our bus stops, our billboards, print, and all the other channels to make the biggest impact. In terms of the timings, we just want to stress that it is really important to get this off the ground as soon as possible. So if we could hear your initial feedback, basically initial yes, we would like to proceed with this, or no, we think that it's not appropriate or it's not right time, whichever way you feel you want to go for this. We would need to hear by the end of this week the initial one, and then next week we could schedule a meeting to go over some feedback if you are happy to go ahead with this. And this timeline is aligned to the Geordie, if we want to hit the Geordie hospitals, obviously, because the way that we've shaped this campaign, it doesn't have to be aligned to the Geordie hospitals. It could quite easily live on its own. So if you need more time, we could still shape the campaign, but it would be separate from the momentum created by the Geordie hospitals. So thank you very much for your time, and please feel free to just drop me a message if you, Graham or Anna's got any questions, or you want to explain a little bit more about each part of the campaign. Me, Will, Greg, Jordan, we are all happy to answer your questions, and we're looking forward to hearing back from you soon. So thank you, goodbye, and speak soon.